Hey everybody, it's Jermaine and Katron from One Umbrella Marriage. Please forgive us for yesterday we were supposed to upload this podcast, but our life was a little crazy and we didn't get to do it. But I just wanted to open up real quick and tell everybody thank you for all of your responses. And some people have inboxed us, even single people, so it's really been nice to hear from people. And thanks for everybody who shares the post. That's really important. So if it means something to you, share. You guys share everything about any other subject that's frivolous. So let's share it and do that. So I just want to jump right in here today. We said we are talking about shift, or for us that means changing. We want to encourage people to make a decision today to have a great marriage, and that's our goal for this message today. Make a decision. So, our question today is: have you designed your marriage around your flaws? Have you designed your marriage around your issues or your problems or your addictions or what have you? Babe, what are some of those flaws that we're talking about?
Well, today, so we're talking about like a lot of times in our marriages, we design our marriage like just like you said, it's around a lot of our flaws and things that we like to do, whether they're good or bad. And so if you drink, if you party, if you like watching porn, if you cheat on your wife or your husband, if you have a money addiction, meaning whether you like to spend money a lot or whether or not you just like making a lot of money, so it keeps you away from your home a lot, and your children and your husband. Maybe one of your flaws is being angry all the time, and so maybe it's that, and so that's what we're talking about today. And did you design your marriage so that it can deal with your flaw,
To suit your
to
flaws.
suit your flaw? Yeah,
Yeah. Have you, and are you asking your spouse to put up with it, so that it suits you?
based around rules that you set up and manipulated to be in your marriage. And so if you like to drink all the time, it's not wrong with a little drinking. It's not wrong with a little this. It's just a naked girl, so I can watch a little porn. It's just you know, I'm making money for the house, so it's okay if I'm out the house making money. I'm out here paying these bills, you know.
Right.
But it costs you to be separate from your mate. It costs you to be separate from your home, and we just want to talk about it today and see if we can encourage you guys to think of things a little differently.
Yeah, and think of change, because what happens is in our society today, we're in a society that people don't want to be changed. We want to be accepted. We want to be accepted for who we are. We want people to, if I like doing this, then you got to accept me as I am. And a lot of that is true when it comes to body or shape or mold. But when it comes to your character, you can change. You can change your character. You can become a better person. And most of us want to be a better person, but we don't. If I have an anger issue, I just think, oh, you're supposed to deal with that. If I like to lash out, then you're supposed to deal with that.
And I think it's pretty easy because most of us, a lot of times, we we put ourselves in position with our friends and our family, and we're close to people who do the same thing. So it seems quite normal because all of your friends cuss people out in traffic. All of your friends want to cuss their coworkers out, and so if you want to lash out at somebody, well, when you go to tell a story, oh, I cussed that person out. Well, it
Right.
made sense because the person you was telling the story to probably cussed everybody else out too. Do you tell that to the person who don't cuss people out?
Right. Would you
Like,
tell that to your pastor?
right. Do
Right.
you say, hey, pastor, I cussed them out
Right.
earlier? No, you
Right.
hide that story from your pastor. You
Right.
hide that from a person who doesn't do it, who a person who don't who holds themselves with high character and doesn't cuss people out. So every way that they go.
Right. So we're acting like our flaws are the destination in our marriage, but really, marriage is about changing yourself. It's about changing who you are so that you become who God created you to be. We're trying to change the way marriage was intended rather than changing ourselves. So we're trying to change the setup of marriage. Marriage was for us to be connected and united. Marriage was intended for us to be relational, to be best friends. But we're trying to change that. It's like, oh, I don't need that. And we're telling ourselves we don't need something, or because we're trying to change the design of what marriage is. And I believe that God designed marriage so that we could be in union together. But couples are now not in union together. Um, you in your marriage, you're not going to be changed in the area that you accept it as the way it is. So, for example, I may accept that, not in marriage, but just if you accept that you're always going to be this way, that's how you're always going to be. If you always going to have money problems, you're always going to have money problems. If you're always going to be fat, if you accept that I'm going to be fat, this is how I am, this is how, then that's how you're going to be. If you accept that you're always going to be skinny, that's how you're going to be. If you accept things in your life, then that's how you always are going to be. But we can change and elevate the way we think. We can make a decision. So, do you want a better marriage?
And I think most of us do. Most of us say, hey, well, I want a better marriage. But if we told you that you have to make some change within yourself first to get that better marriage, would you be willing to say, hey, because I have to make change and I have to do some things differently, then that's the way that I'm going to get a better marriage? That it's up to you first to make the change. If you hear the video or you hear something that provoked change inside of you, then a lot of times you need to put that stuff into action. And then you need to say, hey, well, this is what's going to provoke change. And then you go out and you try to make that thing change and for your marriage. And I think that that's the starting point to a lot of this stuff, that we have to look at this and say, hey, well, I want my marriage to be great. Well, that's a great foundational point. You say, hey, I want it to be great. Well, how do I get it to be great? Well, you're going to have to operate and change. And it's funny because I talk to a lot of couples and a lot of guys. We talk to a lot of people about marriage. And people, no matter how wrong they are, no matter how flawed they are, how bad that they are in the situation, they always come back to this one thing. And it drives me crazy because it always says, hey, well, she just going to accept me the way I am. I ain't changing everything. She need to come around. And it amazes me how wrong a person can be, and they still say that the other person needs to change. The other person needs to accept them the way that they are. Even if they're 100% wrong, if they're 99% wrong, the other person still needs to understand where they are coming from. And I just think that that's a little weird sometimes, that we can't adapt change. And talking to a guy earlier this week, and he said the same thing, but the one thing I told him was, hey, bro, it's just a lot in you that you probably have to change, a lot about you that you probably need to change, and some things that we have to get you to understand so that your change could come, and then a person can receive you a lot better and a lot differently if you change some of these things about yourself a little bit. And I know that this message is a little hard for people because it's like we're just in this society where people just don't want to change. And man, look, I want to lose weight, but I enjoy me a good burger. I do too. I get it. But if you want to change the way your body looks, you probably can't keep enjoying that burger with the milkshake and with the fries. I'm sorry. If you want your marriage to be great, you probably can't give as much time with your girlfriends, more time with your girlfriends or your family than you do your spouse. I'm sorry. If you want change to happen in your marriage, you probably cannot go out and say, hey, well, I'm going to spend all this time at work or doing these other things.
At happy hour, even with your kids.
Yeah. And so it provokes change. We're going to have to do that in order to.
But I think, let me jump in here. I'm sorry, but we do it with any other thing in life. So if we want a better job, we say, oh, I got to go back to school. It's change. You decide that I want a better job. So I'm going to go to school. I'm going to get education. I'm going to get a certification. You change
based around what you said was important.
Right.
So if you said that career, having this great career, making a lot of money, being able to do all the things, if you said that was important to you, you do whatever you have to do to make the change. So you're at 40 years old, if you're going to start going to school, you have to do weekends, night classes, things like that. And you have to make a lot of change in your schedule in order to do that. It's time to study, time that you're going to not spend with other things, and you put it on your priority list. But when it's your spouse, it gets like, I don't know if I want to do it.
Because we want our marriages to be totally convenient to our flaws.
Yeah.
We want our marriage to go around, to be wrapped around our flaws. Marriage is designed to take you out of your comfort zone. I made a post about that about a couple months ago, that marriage is designed to make us uncomfortable. It's designed to make us change. When we get in a relationship with somebody, we can stay in this messed up relationship, we can stay in an unhealthy relationship, or we can change because it grows us, it matures us. And that's what marriage is designed to do. It's designed for two people to come together that don't see things exactly the same way, and life happens. and we can adapt, or we can decide to change so that we can, go with the flow and become better. But if a lot of us decide that we're going to stay who we are in the marriage, and then it doesn't reap the benefits of a great marriage. What happens is our flaws are sort of like a sickness. They are sort of like something that we walk around with. They disconnect us. For instance, so most of the time, if you have a disease, if you think of people in hospital or what have you, everybody, I listened to a pastor and he gave this great example. Everybody that's sick is on the same floor. So, for instance, people who have cancer on the same floor. If you're in labor and delivery, you're on the same floor. If you're on whatever's going through, you're on the same floor as the people who are sick. All right, carry the same sickness. Well, it's like that in your relationship. So your friends, if your friends party and hang out, that's usually who you're going to adapt to. If you want to know, and he made a good point. If you want to know what's wrong with you, look at your friends. Are your friends single and you're married? Most of the time, if you're hanging out with single women, you're probably single. I mean, you're probably going to function as a single person, but you're married. If you hang out with people who drink, get high, watch porn, cheat on their wives, cheat on their spouses, that's probably what you're going to do.
So a lot of times when you're in these relationships and these marriages like this, a lot of times couples, you'll see them, you'll see a person, they'll start spending more time with the person that does those things, and it's not by mistake. You're saying, hey, well, I want to be with this person. I want to be married for the idea of being married. But when it comes down to you hanging out with a certain group of people, or it comes down with you, getting rid of some of your flaws, then look, you're just like what Katron said, that you're hanging around with these couples, or you're hanging around with people in general. Sorry, and it's helping you with your flaws. Like, so if I decided that, hey, you know what, drinking isn't my thing, and drinking isn't my thing, then why would I hang with a lot of people that do drink? Because it's just going to tempt you. If cheating on your spouse isn't your thing, then why are you hanging around with a bunch of people that cheat on their spouse? If partying isn't your thing, then why are your friends party? Like, you typically hang around people that do what you do. Right. That's typically, if you're just a child and you go to recess for the day, if you play basketball as a kid, you're probably gonna go to the kids that play basketball. If you're a girl and you jump rope, then you're gonna go with the girls that jump rope. You're gonna go to the person, go with the people that socially do the things that you do.
Because it makes you feel normal.
Makes you feel normal.
You feel normal in those situations. You feel normal in your flaws, and you're only gonna feel comfortable around people who have the same disease as you, per se. Who have the same flaws as you. And most of the time, it's not your spouse. Your spouse is not the person who makes you feel comfortable. So because you don't feel comfortable in your spouse, if your spouse complains that you hang out, your spouse complains that you drink, your spouse complains that you have an anger issue, your spouse,
you're not comfortable.
Then you're not comfortable with your spouse. I know in our situation, when I was doing whatever I wanted to do, not cheating, but when I was doing, didn't feel comfortable. So I separated myself from the relationship. And what that does is it divides the couple. So, I'm sorry. Life will always present you. This marriage, this thing that we're in, marriage, this journey, it's going to present you. It'll leave you vulnerable. And we have to be able to be vulnerable in our relationships. And we have to be able to say, hey, babe, this is a flaw. This is something I have a problem with. But I need you to, but we don't go to our husband or wife that way because we don't feel comfortable. We want this spouse to accept us as we are. But going to somebody tells that person, I need to change. It's like a drug addict. They have to say, I need to change something about me. They have to first accept that they need to change. And then they can change the behavior. But as long as you're not accepted or open to the change, you won't change the behavior.
Yeah, and a lot of times your spouse sees the problem before you do. Or in a lot of times, so when your spouse comes to you and say, hey, babe, I think you're hanging out too much, or I think you're doing too much, and whatever it may be, maybe it's not hanging out, maybe that's not your deal. I'm sure that we could talk about this on and find a deal that suits you. But listening to this message, you know what your deal is. You know what message that, you know what your spouse is saying, hey, or you know what you're saying, that, hey, I could really change about this. Maybe you just have a spending habit that's putting your family in more and more debt. And in our case, like, we both like spending money. We both like going to the stores and buying things and all of those things. So And we can't control it. We can't control the habit. So we just stay out the store.
We don't go.
We just don't go to the store because I'm not going to tell you that, hey, we can handle it. We just can't.
Right.
So if I'm at the store and I have the money in my account, I'm probably not going to do as well at the store. So I just don't go to the store. Right. Like, yeah, mine isn't drinking, mine isn't smoking, and it's not partying. That's not our deal. We don't have those hangups. And I'm not saying that. But if it weighs on your marriage and your spouse is completely saying, hey, you're doing too much of that, then we have to make some type of change. And doesn't mean your spouse is wrong just because they're bringing it to you. And it probably took a lot of courage for your spouse to bring it up to you. So,
right. And a lot of us would rather stay in an unhealthy marriage than to change or to ask for help. A lot of us, you all listen to us, but a lot of people, everybody comments and says, we love this and blah, blah, blah. But we have to ask for help. None of us can really fix our dysfunction on our own. We really can't. We think we can. But until we reach out and tell somebody, hey, I need some help. But we're so prideful that we can't. So we're going to sum this up by saying, you have to decide. And that was our tagline to, on this message is, you have to decide. This is a decision, and for us, and I believe in choices. We all have a choice. But this is a choice. Changing is a choice. You have to make a decision that you're willing to do whatever it takes to have a great marriage. And that's the problem. A lot of us aren't willing to change to have a great marriage. A lot of us aren't willing to give up something to have a great marriage.
So let's write it down. Write it down on a piece of paper and say, hey, these are the things that I need to change in the marriage. And let's make some real steps. Hey, I need to change some of these things so I can become. Don't just give your marriage up. Don't just get a divorce, or don't just stay married and just be unhappy in the home. Look, write down some things that today. Write down some things while you're at lunch or while you're at work, and just write some things down that you think you could change to make the marriage better, to make your life better. And write down some things that your spouse has been complaining about that you could change. And to make affirmation in your marriage, to affirm your spouse, and so they can hold you accountable to the things, turn it over to them and say, hey, babe, these are things I want to change. And these are things that your spouse appreciated. Your spouse appreciate hearing that you notice that change is needed and that you plan on making some steps to change those things. And maybe you guys can have a conversation on what it takes to make the change. We're not completely relieved from our change of spending at stores and department stores like most of you guys. We're consumers too. So we made a decision in our household in order to keep the finances in our bank account that we just don't go to the store. So you guys might have to put some things in order just so that you can make things better.
Yeah, so you got to be willing to do whatever it takes. And our whatever it takes is we don't go. We don't go to Target that much because we know that, and most people know that when you go to Target, you plan on buying one thing, you'll end up with the full cart. So if your marriage is going to be healed, you're going to have to change. It's not but let me say this. It's not what about your spouse does. It's not about what your spouse does. We have to decide that we're going to change, regardless of what our spouse does or says. And I posted that the other day. It's not about what our spouse. We have to decide that we're going to change first, not wait on them to do something. We're not going to wait. Oh, I'm going to wait till he stopped doing this, and I'll stop doing that. I'm going to wait till he stopped going out with his friends, and then I'll stop going out with mine. Nope.
Show the change within yourself.
Yeah.
First. Show the change within yourself first, and it makes good character within yourself, and you'll be more happy with yourself also. It's
not going to change or get better until you do something about it. We have to stop waiting for something to happen. We have to stop waiting for somebody else to do something. It's not going to just happen. It's not. It's not going to become great overnight. Oh, it's not. You're going to have to decide. You're going to have to make a decision. Your problem is predicated on your ability to move and change. A great marriage is within your reach, but you have to be willing to be uncomfortable. You have to be willing to be vulnerable, and you have to be willing to be inconvenienced. Make a decision.
Bye, guys.